I think dance has a way of also forcing you to build a certain amount of resilience for things because, I mean, you're never going to get better if you just keep getting frustrated at things. And so I think I had to, like, learn to be like, you know what, I'm going to do my thing. I know I deserve to be here. I wouldn't have gotten the job if people didn't think that I could do it.
I'm Caitlin, a former professional ballerina turned dance educator and career mentor, and this is the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. I am here for the aspiring professional ballerina who wants to learn what it really takes to build a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. I'm peeling back the curtain of the professional dance world with open and honest conversations about the realities of becoming a professional dancer. Come along to gain the knowledge and inspiration you need to succeed in a dance career on your terms. Hello and welcome to the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Sloan, and I am joined today by Kendall Lademann. Kendall has danced professionally with Mareck Dance, formerly Missouri Contemporary Ballet, and Lexington Ballet. I was lucky enough to have Kendall as a student when I was the director of the School of Missouri Contemporary Ballet, so this feels like a really special full circle moment to now get to interview her as a professional dancer. So Kendall, I know that I'm going to know a lot of the answers to these questions, but my audience won't. So I'd love to hear, and actually this one I don't know, why did you take your very first dance class?
Actually, it's kind of a crazy story. When I was 2.5, I was dancing with one of my friends, and I ended up getting a spiral fracture in my femur.
Oh my gosh.
And was in a spica cast, which is like full body cast, for 6 weeks. And when I got out of the cast, I was walking funny. So I guess they don't typically put kids that young in like physical therapy. So the doctor suggested dance or gymnastics. And then it stuck. I mean, I asked my parents at one point if they would have put me in dance had I not broken my femur. And they're like, probably not.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
What was your training like growing up?
I started at 3, like a lot of kids, and then we moved to North Carolina. And I was also playing soccer, and I feel like I started really getting into dancing more at like 8 or 9, because that's when my parents were like, this is way too much. You're doing soccer twice a week, you're doing dance 2-3 times a week. You can't do both. Like, it's too much. Obviously, I picked dance. And so then from, I think probably then on, I was going 5 or 6 days a week. And at that point, I was at a very much classical ballet school. We had modern, but it was very much like a more ballet-based modern. And that was only once a week. And then everything else was ballet. And we did Saturday mornings, like 9 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m., which is, I mean, longer than I've worked in a professional day, typically. And then we moved back to Missouri when I was 14. And I joined the School of Missouri Contemporary Ballet and continued that probably 5 or 6 days a week, ballet and modern. And then youth ensemble, which was once a week. And then I went to UMKC in Kansas City for a year before I started at Mareck.
When did you first start thinking that ballet could become a career for you?
From when I was really little, I always said I was going to be a dancer. But I think it was my sophomore year of high school. I don't know if you remember this, but you were able to get us tickets, the youth ensemble tickets, to go see Ailey 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first time I really processed that I could, like, do it for a living. Like, I'd always said I was going to do it. I was like 10, being like, yeah, I'm going to be a ballerina. But I think that show is where I was like, oh, I can actually make a career out of it.
Mm-hmm. How do you think your goals changed from when you were a younger student to when you were maybe like later in high school?
I think as a kid, a lot of the time my goals were like to be in the next level, but that's because that's where my friends were. And I just wanted to like hang out with my friends. You know, it was just because I wanted to be around people that I wanted to hang out with. But I think when we moved back to Missouri, we had tiny little classes at School of MCB. I think it was me and 2 other people on Friday nights. That's when like my technique started really improving a lot. And then, you know, I decided, I was like, oh, I can actually do this. And so then there was like a visible goal of, I want to be a professional. What do I have to do to get there?
Mm-hmm.
So it changed from like, oh, I just want to hang out with my friends, to like, yes, I want to be in the next level. I want to be better, but what's after that?
So out of high school, you attended UMKC as a dance major for 1 year before starting your career with MCB. Can you talk about how all of that happens?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, honestly. So I graduated high school in May of 2019 and then went to UMKC in the fall. And then we were actually on a school trip in Alabama to perform Midsummer Night's Dream in March of 2020, and they canceled our show like 4 hours before we were supposed to perform. So we still like were able to do a run of the show so we could get on video, but we went back to Kansas City and they sent everybody home. So I finished that semester on Zoom, which I did not like. I mean, I was on a 4-foot by 4-foot shower pan liner thing that my mom put together. I was also going to be like, for the next year, it was going to be half on Zoom for like 45-minute ballet classes because they had to deep clean the studio between everything. And I was also going to be in the highest level for ballet and the second highest for modern. And so I was like, I'm just going to take a gap year. And so I talked to Karen Mareck, who was the artistic and executive director at Mareck, and just asked if I could take class with the company, because then I wasn't going to have to pay tuition. I was going to get a full hour-and-a-half class every day. So I started taking class with the company. And then in October of 2020, actually, it was the day that I was going to film a variation to send an audition video to another school. But I was also going to talk to Karen to see if she would be willing to let me stay as a trainee for the spring season. And so the day that I was going in to talk to her about that, she talked to me first about the trainee. And then I stayed there for 5 years.
What was it like starting your professional career at the same place you studied as a student?
It was really cool. There's not a lot of professional dancers who can say that they got to dance with some of their teachers, which I think is so cool. It was kind of weird because I'd known them as teachers. Obviously, you have a slightly different personality as a teacher than you do when you're just dancing. But I think something that was really helpful for me is that I think I was dancing with 4 or 5 of my teachers from high school, but nobody kept treating me as a student. I was 19, but every single one of those teachers that I had in high school treated me as an adult. Like, still, would help guide me with whatever help I needed, but they didn't hold my hand. I think that was really helpful. I was thrown into it, but it also, it helped to have people that I knew really well and knew me to, help me learn how to be a professional.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like a safe place where you know the people and you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And you know the dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool because, like I said, not a lot of professional dancers get to say that they got to dance. I mean, I danced with Elise, who was on the podcast a while ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, she was my teacher all 4 years, and then I danced with her for 5 seasons, which is crazy.
Were there any corrections or lessons that Elise or any of the other teachers gave you during your training that really stuck with you as you began your professional career?
I mean, I have, the technical corrections that I still work on. I tend to really sit in my hyperextension. But I think one thing, and I don't know that anybody ever, directly said this to me, but it was something that's just kind of known. But I think it's something that's really motivating even now, is that you're never going to be the best. There's always going to be someone better than you. And I think that has been something that's really helpful for me in pushing myself, in improving my technique, my artistry, different styles. I mean, that's something that's really stuck with me. And then actually, this wasn't from one of my teachers, but my parents. I had a couple times that I would come home from dance just in high school or in elementary school, middle school, whatever. And I'd be like, I can't do it anymore. I want to quit. I'm done. And my parents every single time were like, okay, but we've paid for this semester, for this year. So you've committed. You've taken a spot. You're taking these people's time. We've paid for it. You have to finish the year. And if you still want to quit, then we can talk about it. And I never did, obviously. But I think that's something that's really stuck with me too, just in terms of committing to things. We all have our days where I can't do it. It's terrible. But then, I come home and okay, well, I signed my contract. I have to finish the year. And then every year I still come back and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not done.
Did you know the dance slipper has remained essentially unchanged for over 100 years? The rigors of dance have increased exponentially, and traditional dance slippers fail to meet the unique athletic needs of today's dancers. Designed and engineered by former Pacific Northwest Ballet principal dancer Seth Orza, who experienced firsthand the need for better, smarter equipment, Orza delivers the first ever patented shock-absorbing ballet shoes. The Orza Pro preserves the timeless aesthetic of traditional ballet slippers while incorporating sneaker technology to maximize performance, optimizing endurance, reducing fatigue, and increasing confidence. Trusted by leading dancers, schools, and teachers worldwide, including myself, Orza helps you feel your best so you can dance your best. Head to the link in the show notes and use code Brainy Ballerina for 10% off your order of Orza ballet slippers today. Was there any rep that you saw Mareck Dance perform as a student that you were really excited to get to perform as a professional?
Yeah, actually one of my favorite pieces that I got to perform and that I ever saw Mareck perform, it's called Linger Longer. Sean Aaron Carmen choreographed it. The music is all an artist called Cosmo Sheldrake. The costumes were super cool. It was like black point shoes with suits. And that was one of my favorite pieces that I ever saw performed, which at the time it was MCB, but I got to do it my 3rd season with the company. And to this day, it's still one of my favorite pieces that I've gotten to perform.
You know, that piece the company did for the first time in the first show after I retired, and I was like, oh, I want to do that piece. I remember being so mad, like, I wish I got to do that one. But there's always going to be one more piece that you want to do. So
I'm like, if there was one piece that I could do again, it would be that one.
Yeah. And you got to be Alice.
I did. That was a full circle thing because I did it twice in high school and I was a courtier and a lobster. And then for like the first time that I did it as a professional to get to be Alice, I was like, wasn't even on my radar. I remember talking to my mom before we got casting and I was like, I think I would be happy if I got to be the Dormouse, which I think that would have been a fantastic, fun thing to do.
That is a fun part. I originated that role when we first did Alice, the Dormouse, and it is super fun. Being in the tea party, no matter who you are in the tea party, is so fun.
It's so fun. It was so stressful though. I think Karen told me at one point, she was like, you might be the worst of the plate throwers I've seen.
And that's pretty bad because I was pretty bad.
It was true. There's a video of me somewhere. I think Elise took it. I completely dropped both plates, like had them slightly in my hands and they just...
So for context, for people listening, in our tea party scene, there's a section at the very end of the whole scene where we're basically throwing plates around like frisbees, like across the stage. And over the years, that has been probably the biggest struggle. Like all of us dancers could do whatever technical thing you asked of us, but asked us to throw a plate like a frisbee, and we all just crumbled. I remember one time someone's plate going in the orchestra pit.
We had one of those. I think we had a cup that either almost got into the orchestra pit or did. It didn't, because there's also a part where Alice like pushes the Mad Hatter up because he falls into the splits in the rolling chair. Mm-hmm. And so I helped him up and I had to go get the cup from that. Yeah.
I know we probably should have the audience like sign a liability waiver.
Right?
Yeah, I remember Karen saying like, just go outside and just throw a frisbee around.
Mm-hmm. I think we tried to do a run of the whole pattern before we run it.
Yeah, that was the hardest part for sure.
I mean, the dancing was difficult.
Yeah.
For the first act as Alice, it's a lot. It's dense. Like there's no break.
Yeah, once you get to the second act, it's pretty breezy.
Yeah, there's not really anything that's like terribly difficult in the second half.
The most you do is the finale.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the first act, you have all the solos. You have falling down the rabbit hole. You have the caterpillar paw. You have tea party.
Caterpillar paw is crazy.
So crazy. So hard.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so cool, like, having been an Alice and then seeing you as one of my students get to be Alice. Like, I just think that's such a cool thing to see. And it makes you really proud as a teacher to know that your students have gotten to that point.
I loved getting to do that too, because I think we ended up learning a lot of it off of the video you did. Did you do both of yours with Joel as the caterpillar?
Yeah. Oh, no, that's not true. I did first time with Joel and second time with Jose.
Okay. Yeah, I think we went back and forth between using those videos for learning it. That was cool too. Because then, you scroll to a certain point past that, and then I'm also in the video.
Yes.
But I'm a lobster.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. And one thing that I've really always admired about you, Kendall, is that you have a really incredible work ethic, but you are also really a silly goose. And you have a beautiful way of letting things kind of roll off your back. Like, I've seen you get frustrated and that kind of thing, but you're pretty quick to recover. And I'm just curious, do you feel like that has always come naturally to you, or did you have to really work on that skill?
I think to a certain extent, it's kind of come naturally. I grew up with two brothers, and so you have to be a little bit resilient.
Two older brothers?
One older. My older brother is about 2.5 years older, and then I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger.
That's right. Okay.
So we're all pretty close in age. So there was, just siblings. So I think to a certain extent it does. I think dance has a way of also forcing you to build a certain amount of resilience for things because, you're never going to get better if you just keep getting frustrated at things. During my time at Mareck, there's a few things where, like, not necessarily dancing wise, but just a few situations where, like, my age or the fact that I didn't finish school would be, like, brought up and kind of used in a negative way. And so I think I had to, like, learn to be like, you know what, I'm going to do my thing. I know I deserve to be here. I wouldn't have gotten the job if people didn't think that I could do it. That, I think, was quite a learning curve. I'm still learning, but it's gotten better.
How do you feel that you grew as an artist during your time with Mareck Dance?
Karen really, really pushed me in ways that I didn't think that I could be pushed. That she has a tendency to sometimes put people in roles that are way out of the realm of possibilities.
The comfort zone.
Yeah. Like, I remember Hand in Hand, Shannon Lewis, when she cast me in that, also my third season, I remember watching it and I was like, oh, because it's so intense for, 10 minutes? And it's so hard.
It's not crazy long, but it's just like driving the whole time.
Yeah. And I remember being like, oh man, because at that point I hadn't done a whole lot of, like, the really hard hitting things. And so she put me in that and I was like, okay, well, I have to. I was dancing with Elise and then who's now my best friend, Ashley. They're both incredible dancers. And so I was like, okay, well, I have to step up to the plate. I can't be the one that's bringing it down. So I think Karen has a really good way of putting people in stuff that is going to push them. That really, really changed the way that I dance. I had a meeting with her at one point and she was like, I feel like you're not pushing yourself. She was like, I want you to put yourself at the front of the room. I want you to be in the front when choreographers are here. Make them pick you to be, like, featured in their piece. And I think that was a big turning point too.
Yeah, I feel like Karen has a great way of helping you get over whatever fear you have because she doesn't care if you mess up. She cares if you're being careless and you're not, like, trying. But if you are going for it, she's like, yeah, that's all I want. And I feel like coming to MCB, maybe it wasn't the first time I'd experienced that kind of environment, but it was definitely the most consistent I'd experienced that. And just being like, wow, I really am in a place where I can just go for it and see what happens. And that's the expectation.
Yeah.
At first was really scary and then eventually really freeing.
I think she, for me, had to really work on getting it out of me. After my third season, which was the year I did Hand in Hand, we also did Linger Longer. And then that was the first time I got to be Alice. I think that's when I really started dancing bigger. I don't know what specifically about that season, probably just a confidence boost. But after that season is when I really started to, like, turn into, like, my own dancer.
Yeah. And you spent 5 seasons with Mareck Dance before moving to Lexington Ballet. And I know toward the end of your time there, things were changing really quickly and you had to make some really big decisions on a very short timeline. Can you tell us a little bit about how that transition period was for you?
Yeah, it was not pretty. The date that we found out that they were shutting things down is ingrained in my brain forever. It was June 12th. Karen had told us the weekend before Alice in Wonderland that she was stepping down for the next season. And then on the 12th, they were like, we're not continuing, or ceasing operation, I think was the words they used. There was a lot of crying involved because in my mind, I was like, I'm going to dance for Karen. I'm going to dance at Mareck. That's my place. It was like 2 weeks, maybe. I was like fully shut down. My dad referred to it as like a functioning shutdown state. I was still teaching danceability. I was still teaching at another studio that I was working at. Like, I was still doing all of the things, but I wasn't processing anything. I was like, no, this isn't happening. Because also, June is way after auditions happen. And I think it had been about 2 weeks. And my dad that day was working from home. And he just grabbed me and he was like, if you want to keep doing this, you have to do something. You're shut down. You're not doing anything. And that just, it broke whatever wall I had put up. And I had a full meltdown in my dad's office. And then I think the next day I sent my reel a resume and a headshot to Lexington Ballet. And 2 days later had a phone call and was offered a contract.
Had you heard that they were hiring later in the season? Like, how did you decide to send it there?
Dara, who also danced at Mareck for 4 years, had messaged them and she was like, hey, if you want a job, they're still hiring. So I Googled it and then I sent them my stuff and I was like, you know what? It's a job. I wasn't really wanting to do classical and it ended up not being classical. But I was like, it's a job. And even if it's just for a year, it's something to keep me in shape, keep my technique going. Because there wasn't a lot of other options at that point.
Let's pause this episode so I can tell you about one of my all-time favorite dancewear brands, M Seam Apparel. Founded by former Joffrey ballet dancer Jacqueline Mosicki, M Seam Apparel is designed to make you feel confident, comfortable, and elegant every time you step on the dance floor. For nearly a decade, M Seam Apparel has been a trusted partner to the dance community, providing high-quality and truly unique dancewear. Whether you're searching for a striking new leotard, the perfect flowy skirt, comfortable leggings for rehearsal, or a custom-made costume, M Seam has got you covered with designs for all genders. And because you're a listener of the Brainy Ballerina Podcast, M Seam Apparel is offering an exclusive discount. Use code BRAINY25 at checkout for 25% off all items. That's BRAINY25 for 25% off everything at mseamapparel.com. Head to the show notes and tap the link to give your wardrobe a refresh today. What has it been like starting fresh with Lexington Ballet? How has this season gone for you?
I have loved it. Honestly, in a way, it's been very validating because I spent the first 5 seasons of my career at Mareck. And I went through this phase, like, as I was starting to look for places where I was like, what if I go to another place and they don't? Like, they hire me, but they don't like me. Like, they don't like me the same way that people here do in terms of giving me casting or the way I dance or anything. And the second day of the season here, I was given a 4.5-minute solo for the first show that we did, which I actually got to end up performing in our last show of the year too, which was like kind of cool. So I think it was very validating. Also, I feel like I have grown not just like as a dancer, but as a person this year. I've moved away from home. My whole family is in Colombia, and I was living with my parents for my last season at Mareck. But here, I'm the only one here, so I have to figure out how to be an adult, how to do things. So that's been really fun to experience too. I love Lexington. It was not part of whatever 2025 was in my brain. I was like, no, I'm not. Why would I move? And I moved within a month of signing a contract. But it's worked out a lot better than I could have wanted it to. So
what have been some of the cool things that you've gotten to do with the company this year?
Our first show of the season was at a distillery, and we got to perform outside, and it was this beautiful garden setting. It was kind of cold because it was October, so that was really cool. We've done a lot of little pop-up things at different places around Lexington. This like super cool fancy hotel. We got to be in a music video, which is really cool. There's an artist from, I think she's just outside of Nashville. Her name's B. Taylor. And so actually our first show of the year was all to her music. And she came to that show and was singing it live. And so then we got to be in a music video for her that just premiered a couple weeks ago. So that's really cool. We didn't do a Nutcracker. We did like an old Hollywood style sort of Nutcracker. I think the way my boss described it was like Night at the Museum meets Nutcracker. It was called a Charlie Chaplin Christmas. I got to be Charlie Chaplin, which is like kind of weird, but it was kind of cool too. Like I looked a lot like my brother. It's like the first thing my mom said to me after the show. So we've gotten to do a lot of really cool things. And I also have been doing a guesting like every couple months with Fever Production Company. They do like a light up fiber optic ballet thing. And it's like an hour-long version of Sleeping Beauty. And I've gotten to be a fairy in that twice, which is kind of fun. I feel like a lot of cool opportunities have really popped up.
And I know you're really passionate about teaching adaptive dance with danceability. Have you gotten to keep teaching in this next stage?
I have been teaching. I only teach like once a week. I really miss teaching danceability though. If there's a way, I would love to try to get something like that started here. Mm-hmm. That is probably one of my favorite things that I did at Mareck. Like I loved the dancing, but that program was like the best thing I think that I have been able to do.
What did you love so much about it?
I love the students. Did you ever teach Angie and Mindy?
Yes, I love them.
They are like
Oh,
my favorite
and I'm so
people.
glad they're still dancing.
They're still in class. I love them. Two
Yeah.
are probably the funniest people I've met in my life.
Oh my gosh, yes. They're awesome.
But like some of the younger students too, one of them, her whole family came out to see the Charlie Chaplin show.
Oh my gosh.
So like just the people and also the pure joy that you see like when they're performing. I think sometimes we forget that it's such a privilege to be able to do what we do and to see like how excited they are just to be able to get on a stage in a sparkly outfit. It hits something in my brain that's just like, oh yeah, not everybody gets to do this.
And that's another full circle moment for you because you were a volunteer with Danceability when you were in high school,
Yeah.
and then to become the lead instructor. That's amazing too. I feel like when I talk to you, you think that everything just kind of like happened to work out, but I hope that you know that you did all these things to prepare yourself. Like all this stuff that you were doing in high school and all the work you were putting in, you deserve everything that you ended up doing. It wasn't just an accident.
It's been very cool to see. I called my dad on Monday because you sent all these like questions and I was like, I need to just like write things down because off the top of my head, I'm not always great. And I was like, it's really cool to look at like all of these things that I just talked through with my dad and like see all of the things that I did or that happened or whatever to like get me where I am. I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, COVID was a horrible thing. I don't want to go through that again. But had it not happened, I may not have started at Mareck.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I know there's probably some alternate universe where we're all taking some other path we would have been on if COVID hadn't happened, because I talked to so many people and so many dancers' stories started with a big change during COVID in their life. Yeah, it's just amazing how things happen like that. Sometimes you can't always plan for it.
It was really cool to like look through just like the things that I talked about with my dad and just be like, oh, wow.
Yeah. What are you most excited about in this next phase of your career?
Honestly, I'm excited to see what happens. There's a lot of cool opportunities out there. Like tomorrow morning, I'm driving back to Missouri to guest with the new organization that was started by our rehearsal director at Mareck and her boyfriend who danced with us. I'm guesting with them next Friday. I'm excited to see what else is in the realm of possibilities. I think there's a lot more than I thought there was because I was just so like set staying where I was, and then moving was like, oh, there's a lot of other things that you can do with this.
Okay, Kendall, last question for you. If you had to give aspiring professional dancers one piece of advice as they're pursuing their careers, what would you tell them?
I have two thoughts. One is just to go for it. The worst somebody can say is no, but I got my first job just by asking if I could take class with the company. You have to put yourself out there and go for it. Because like I said, the worst somebody can say is no. And there are going to be no's, but for every no, there's going to be a yes at some point. Or for every 3 no's, there's a yes somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, this was something my parents said to me and my brothers all the time, but really think about how you treat people, especially in the dance world, because it's so small. I dance professionally with people that I was at a summer intensive with in 2016, or like they know people I went to school with for a year. If you're just having a bad day and you say one thing to one person, a bunch of people might find out about that. They're like, oh, do you know this person? And their friend will be like, yeah, but she was kind of mean. Be very mindful of how you carry yourself, how you present yourself to people, and how you talk to people.
Absolutely, Kendall, and you've always embodied that. You've always been a pleasure to work with. I still remember you as a high schooler coming into the School of Missouri Contemporary Ballet, and you just brought such joy and class to the environment. This has been really cool getting to reconnect with you and interview you now as a professional dancer. If anyone listening wants to learn more about you, where can we find you?
Probably Instagram would be the best way.
Okay, perfect. I will link your handle in the show notes for anyone who would like to learn more about you and your career. Thank you so much, Kendall, for taking the time to chat with me today. It was so fun.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time. It was really good to talk to you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Brainy Ballerina Podcast. If you found this episode insightful, entertaining, or maybe a bit of both, I would so appreciate you taking a moment to leave a rating and hit subscribe. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll join our community of dancers passionate about building a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. Plus, your ratings help others discover the show too. I'll be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, be sure to follow along on Instagram at The Brainy Ballerina for your daily dose of dance career guidance.